Hello and welcome to Legalbytes. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. We don't give legal advice, but we do talk about how the law works and try to look into our crystal ball to see how things might turn out. If you're enjoying this on YouTube, we'd love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, all the great YouTube-y stuff. And if you want to listen while out and about, we're now offering our live streams in podcast form where you can leave a rating and review. Links are in the description below, as well as to our clips channel where you can find some of the best clips taken from our live streams. Otherwise, if you want to catch me elsewhere, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Locals, Patreon, or by becoming a YouTube member, or by buying some really awesome Legalbytes merch. Again, all links are in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it. All right, you guys, hang on. Let's get the mic over here. We're going to get started real quick. We're just like a minute behind. They started a little bit early today with jumping into finishing the direct testimony of Marissa Popple. This is the crime scene investigator, crime scene somethingator. I'm going to check my notes and I'll update the pinned comment. But we are finishing the direct examination. We're going to get to cross-examination. We'll see how this direct examination holds up. But so far, this direct from yesterday is looking pretty bad for the defense because everything looks like a disorganized mess. This is taking all of the evidence from the crime scene, all of the different live rounds, dummy rounds, spent rounds, like all kinds of, or shell casings, I guess you could say. So anyway, so it's just a huge mess so far from what we can see, which, you know, I said in the beginning that, throughout the day yesterday, really, that chaos on set is really good for the defense. Overall chaos is good for the defense, but chaos specifically with the weapons, not so much. That is not so much good for the defense. In fact, that's really bad for the defense. It only helps the defense if it's in a much larger context of overall chaos that is even bigger than what we're seeing here with these details right now. 1 second. Let me just make sure that I'm turned properly here. Yeah. Okay. No, we're good. Okay. I just want to make sure if someone opens the door, no one sees them. Anyway. Okay. So, okay. So like I said, yesterday so far, all of that has been really good for the prosecution, for the state, bad for the defense. We'll see how it holds up. They haven't yet finished, though. They're just jumping right back into it. Oh, and also, before we get going, thank you for that, Debbie. Let me just get this here real quick. Just because earlier gifted 10 Legalbytes memberships. Thank you so much, just because. Very kind and generous of you. So Canadian Neko, I Love Pie, I'm Not Druish, AB Short Clips, Denise M, Phoenix Fire, Care in Canada, Smile More Please, Rita Venegas, Kyle Anderson. You guys have all been gifted memberships by Just Because. So thank you very much. Welcome to Bite Club, or welcome back to Bite Club. So thank you so much, Just Because. Very, very kind of you. And also, Debbie Faison Cook, thank you so much for gifting 5 Legalbytes memberships. So Gnome, ALO, Trin Ners, and Baxter, and Bubbles Pondu, you've all been gifted memberships. So welcome to Bite Club, or welcome back. And normally on Fridays at 10 a.m. East Coast time, we do a casual members only live stream. Because this is a trial day, we're bumping that back. I'm going to see if I can do a short stream tomorrow, maybe to kind of make up for it. If not, I apologize profusely. Next week, I will for sure do one on Saturday. Maybe I'll do a longer one than I normally do, just to kind of make up for some of the time. So, okay, guys, with all of that said, let's get into it, shall we? Let's jump right in, because they have jumped in a little bit early. Okay. And we'll get caught up on one of the recesses. No worries. All right, here we go. Let me know if there's any sound balancing issues, as always. Oh, and look, defense legal team. She's no longer wearing a tiara. So that's good. I'm glad for that. That was distracting to a lot of people in the chat, possibly to people on the jury as well. All right. Anyway, let's go.
are spent
Sorry,
blank
guys.
rounds.
Okay.
Sorry about that. There was no sound. Let me go back just a second. I'm so sorry, guys. I forgot because I muted it while I was playing the intro. And okay, I'm going back just a tiny bit. Sorry. We'll get caught up. Don't worry.
At 44A, do you recognize this?
Yes.
And what is this a photo of?
This is a close-up of what's inside that Mary Kay bag.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. What are these over here on the right?
Those are spent blank rounds.
Okay. And what are we looking at here?
This-
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What is the exhibit number of this?
This one is 44B.
44.
I apologize.
Thank you, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is an overall view of what's inside that Mary Kay bag.
Okay. And so were there things underneath these boxes?
Yes.
And what was underneath the boxes?
I believe there were additional rounds underneath those boxes.
Okay. And do you know what we're looking at here on the side?
This is the outside pocket of that Mary Kay bag.
Okay, and I'm sorry, this is State's Exhibit 45. Maybe I need another cup of coffee. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 46. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And what's that?
This is the inside of that bag once those ammunition boxes were removed, where you can see loose rounds.
All right, thank you. And State's Exhibit, excuse me, 47. What are we looking at here?
So if you guys aren't familiar with Mary Kay, it's one of those I don't want to call it multi-level marketing schemes, but like it is one of those multi-level marketing situations. They sell mostly cosmetics, makeup, things like that. So it's like you have a lot of women selling to other women. It's Derek Boodle. It's like Avon, very similar to Avon. So it's just funny that like this Mary Kay bag is being used for like ammunition. It's just funny. There's a joke in there somewhere about like Mary Kay running out of market share or something and like deciding to like transition over to selling ammunition in addition to makeup. Anyway, let's go on.
This is the middle portion of that bag.
Okay. And do you recognize State's Exhibit 48?
Yes.
And what is this?
This is a box of ammunition marked as dummy rounds 45 LC that was removed from that Mary Kay bag.
And State's Exhibit 48A, do you recognize this?
Yes.
And what are these?
This is the foam insert containing dummy rounds that was removed from that box.
And how many rounds altogether, if you recall, were in there?
17.
Okay, thank you. State's Exhibit 49, do you recognize that?
These are those same rounds removed from the foam insert and laid out.
Okay. And what's the round that you have there by itself up at the top?
That round that's moved sideways posted a concern at first because it was not making any noise with ball bearings inside like the rest of the rounds were.
Is this the same Dentix round that we admitted into evidence yesterday?
It is not.
It is not. Okay. This is just a round that was in that box that didn't shake.
Correct.
Okay. And did you do anything with that round?
We sent that round to the FBI because it was of concern, and their determination was that the ball bearings were stuck inside of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was the reason it wouldn't rattle?
Correct.
Okay. State's Exhibit 50. What are we looking at here?
This is an ammunition box of marked as 3840 dummies that was removed from the prop truck.
And are all of the rounds in that styrofoam insert 3840 dummies?
No.
What other calibers in there?
Some of them are 4440s.
All right. Any 45 Colt rounds in there?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. States Exhibit 51. What are we looking at here?
This is a close-up of those same rounds.
Okay, and we can kind of see the head stamp there. Can you see that?
Yes.
States Exhibit 52. What's this?
These are those same rounds laid out.
And the rounds over on the right-hand side, what are those?
The rounds that are over on that side that are laid sideways, those are the 3840 rounds.
These are the 3840s?
I apologize. Let me refer to my report.
Sure.
No, I'm sorry. Those are the 4440s.
And the chrome and shiny brass that we're looking at here on the left, what caliber are those?
Those are the 3840s.
Okay, great. In terms of the 4440s here on the right, do all of the 4440s that you have, dummy rounds that you have in evidence, do they all have that same projectile that we can see here?
Yes.
And is that projectile dissimilar than the projectile of the live rounds?
Yes.
States Exhibit 53. What's this?
These are the rounds that were provided to Detective Hancock from Hannah Gutierrez during her interview.
Okay. And were they all dummy rounds?
Yes.
And the 5 on the left, do they shake?
No.
The one on the right, does it rattle?
Yes.
Rattle rather than shake, I apologize. States Exhibit 54, what are we looking at here?
This is the close-up of the projectile that was recovered from Joel Souza's shoulder.
Ah,
Okay. And just to be clear, this is the only projectile that was that was taken into evidence from presumably from the injuries of the victims.
Correct.
Okay. States Exhibit 55. What's this?
This was a bag of spent casings that was located inside the Mary Kay bag.
And States Exhibit 56.
These are those same casings laid out.
And I see that you have some separated up here on the top left. Do you see those?
Yes.
I'm going to move to States Exhibit 57. What's this?
This is a close-up of those same rounds.
The casings.
Casings, yes.
All 4 of these spent casings, are they all 45 long Colt or
Yeah.
45 Colt?
Yes.
And are they all Starline brass casings?
Yes.
It would appear that they all have silver primers.
Yes.
Are these casings basically identical to the casing that was taken from the scene and sent to the FBI?
Your Honor, I'm gonna object on the leading, and it can be rephrased, so it's not leading.
Sure. Did you find any spent casings on the prop cart?
Yes.
How many?
1.
And can you tell us what that one looks like as compared to what we're looking at here in States 57?
Yes. The casing that was located on the cart is a silver primer and states 45 Colt with the Starline brass logo.
All right, thank you. State's Exhibit 58. Do you know what we're looking at here?
Yes.
And what is this?
This was a shirt collected from the scene that was marked as item 18.
Do you know which of the victims this belonged to?
I believe this was Joel Souza's shirt.
Okay. State's Exhibit 59. Do you recognize that?
This was that same shirt, just from the opposite of you.
And let me stop you there. I'm going to go back to State's Exhibit 58, and I'm going to blow it up here. Do you see here where it says marker 18?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
What that correlates with is what I marked it with our crime scene evidence markers on scene. So it was marked on scene with a yellow marker that stated as 18.
Okay. State's Exhibit 59. What writing do you
Yeah,
have
for those who
here?
are unfamiliar, Joel Souza
I have it as from
the
Med
director, is.
60.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again.
This is what he was wearing when he was shot.
I think you indicated that this was the same shirt that was in 59, is it? Or I'm sorry, 58.
It is not. I apologize.
Okay, so let's move to State's Exhibit 60. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what are we looking at here?
This is the shirt collected from Med 60, which was the ambulance, from a viewpoint of it laid completely out.
And who was wearing this shirt on the day of the incident?
I believe this shirt belonged to Halyna Hutchins.
All right, thank you. And these have already been admitted into evidence, but State's Exhibit 61, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And did you take this photo?
Yes.
And can you tell us where you took the photo and why?
This is the inside of Lieutenant Benavidez's vehicle, where the 2 boxes of ammunition that were handed to him were secured.
State's Exhibit 62, what's that?
This is a close-up on those ammunition boxes.
And in State's Exhibit 62, can you clearly see that label?
Yes.
Can you tell us what the label says?
45 Long Colt Dummies, JS.
And when you say JS, you're referring to those small letters in the center?
Yes.
All right. And State's Exhibit 63, what's this?
This is that same box.
Only, where was this photo taken?
This was in my office, in my processing room.
Okay. State's Exhibit 64.
This is the inside of that box.
And this round here, we may have already discussed it. Was this round sent to the FBI?
Yes.
Was it determined to be a live round?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 65, what's this?
These are those same rounds removed from the foam insert and laid out.
Okay. And if you know, and if you need me to bounce back to the previous photo, I'm happy to. From looking at this, do you know which of these is that live round?
The live round in this case would be next to all of the rounds that have the hole drilled through the side.
Here?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. I want to make sure. Let me ask you this. When you took the rounds out of the styrofoam insert and you lined them up, did you line them up in the same order that they were in the styrofoam insert?
No.
Okay. Why did you put these 5 at the bottom by themselves?
Because they were a different type of round.
Okay, and so how are these 5 over here on the left different than the rest of the rounds from the box?
So they have the hole drilled through the side.
All 5 of them?
Those 4, and then the one on the end would be the live round.
Okay, this one right here.
Yes.
Alrighty, thank you. States Exhibit 70. Well, let me stop for a second. I think you testified yesterday that you participated in a search warrant at PDQ Props. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you collect any live ammunition from PDQ Props?
Yes.
Okay. And let's turn to States Exhibit 70. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And what is this?
This was a box of ammunition that was recovered from PDQ Props.
A box of ammunition?
Yes.
Was it live or dummy or blank?
Only live ammunition was collected from PDQ Props.
Okay.
That's interesting.
When you were there, were there other types of ammunition there also?
Yes.
Okay. States Exhibit 71. What are we looking at here?
This is the live ammunition that was recovered from PDQ Props.
And this live ammunition that was recovered from PDQ Props, is it visibly different than the live rounds that were found on the movie set?
Oh,
Yes.
this is
And how is it visibly different?
okay.
So
Hang
there-
on. The reason this is important for the state here, because this is the live rounds that were taken from PDQ Props. That's Seth Kinney. Defense wants to nail all of this onto Seth Kinney for who brought the live rounds on set. This is getting to that question. And so what this witness is about to say is, here's the reasons why these are all very visually different from the live rounds that were brought on set. What they're trying to say is those live rounds that were found on set didn't come from PDQ because they looked different from those. Now, could they have had other kinds? Could Seth still have brought them from another place that didn't come from, that wasn't, like it was a separate box that he wanted to use those up before using up these? Yeah, entirely possible. But this is helpful to the state because it's showing, hey, there's a difference between the live rounds that Seth had and the live rounds that were found on set. In other words, it was probably Hannah Gutierrez-Reed who brought the live rounds on set. That's what they're getting at.
There were different types of live ammunition collected from PDQ, including different stamps on that ammunition.
And let me ask you this, the projectile shape, is the projectile shape different in these than in the rounds that were found on set?
Yes.
States Exhibit 72, what are we looking at here?
So this is a close-up of some of that live ammunition.
And can you tell us what color primers the live ammunition from PDQ Props has?
This ammunition that we're looking at now had brass.
Okay. And that's, is that different than the live rounds that were found on set?
Yes.
Did you bring another piece of physical evidence with you at my request?
Yes, I did.
If you can help me.
Yeah, just because, but defense has also already stated that Seth Kinney may have had some of Val Reed's ammo from a training session in opening. And I think that's probably what they're going to get out on cross-examination. They might hit that to basically say, well, the live rounds that Seth brought on set were not from this other stuff over here. He took them from Fel Reed. He never gave them back. And that's why they look different from these other ones. They might supply that explanation. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
I'm going to mark this item as State's Exhibit 91. Ms. Popple, do you recall yesterday when we
Ms. Fitness
discussed
3, this is a
State's
very important
Exhibit
point too.
79?
Yes.
And remind us what State's Exhibit 79 is.
This was a live round that was deconstructed by the FBI.
And where did this live round come from?
If I can see the label on it, apologize. So this live round originated from the box that was handed to Lieutenant Benavides.
Okay, and that's the box that just has the one live round in it that we looked at the photo of?
Yes, with the silver primer.
Oh, I'm not connected anymore. Okay, and that would have been State's Exhibit 64 for the record is what we're referring to.
Yes.
And what you brought me today, State's Exhibit 91. Let me try to get it out of the. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This was,
Let me back it up for just a second so we can see more. Okay.
this was a round collected from PDQ that was then sent to the FBI, and the FBI deconstructed it.
Okay. What was the purpose behind sending the live rounds from the set and the live rounds from PDQ to the FBI?
They did an analysis of the gunpowder components in both rounds.
Okay, great. So what we just saw in State's Exhibit 79, this is similar. Do you agree? It has a casing and a projectile and a container of gunpowder.
Yes.
Can you see the gunpowder that I've zoomed in on there?
Yes.
And does that look to be the same just visibly from just looking at it? Does that?
I'm not object to that.
Is it leading?
I'm not quite sure what the way you're she's phrasing it.
Yes, it just, I guess, it's okay. Sometimes it sounds leading to me, but it's okay. You just go for it.
Ah,
All right, thank
go with your objection, man.
Is this different than the other exhibit, the gunpowder?
Yes.
Okay,
How
it
so?
looks different, right?
Yes.
How so?
Thank you.
Okay. Never mind. I'd like to know how.
Give me just one moment to review my notes. And just for completeness, do you also have a large amount of blank rounds in evidence?
Yes.
How many blank rounds do you think you have in evidence?
I would say probably close to 1,000.
And approximately how many gun belts do you have in evidence?
I believe 3.
And approximately how many guns do you have in evidence?
Around 15 or 16.
And those are real functioning firearms?
Yes.
Bear with me. I'll pass the witness.
Thank you. Cross exam.
Yes, Your Honor.
Cross. Here we go.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Now, I want to talk to you first about your training and your job and what you've been trained on as a crime scene technician.
Uh-oh. Is this her first job?
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your training?
Yes, I have my bachelor's degree in forensics. I've had over 1,000 additional hours of in-classroom training over various different forensic areas such as blood pattern analysis, latent print analysis, crime scene reconstruction, those kinds of areas.
Okay, and has that included firearm and ammunition training and determining the difference between types of ammunition?
Not that specific, no.
Okay, so what is the scope of your training you've had on determining different types of ammunition?
I mean, are you specifically referring to?
Calibers, 4440, 38, 45, you've been trained on recognizing the differences?
That I have, yes.
Okay, and how about recognizing the differences between dummy rounds, blanks, and live rounds?
I have not been to that type of training, no.
Okay, so your testimony earlier when you were talking about the dummy rounds and the various measurements and that, you have not been trained in that area?
No.
Okay. Now, part of your training in terms of verifying that a round is either a dummy or a live round is you need to send that to the FBI lab for confirmation. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Because some of the dummy
Okay.
rounds appear like live rounds. They look like live rounds, correct?
Yes.
In fact, the round that came out of the box we saw earlier that did not shake, you sent that off to the FBI lab because you wanted to confirm what that was, correct?
Yes.
And part of the thing the FBI does is they take apart the round and they determine if it has powder in it. Is that right?
Yes.
And when they do that, that tells them basically if it's a live round or a dummy. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So would you also agree in your training that you've never been taught that you can eyeball a dummy and determine if it's a dummy or a live, or eyeball a round and determine if it's a dummy or live?
No, I've not been trained in that area.
Okay. And you would also agree with me that you
Yikes.
can't look at a picture of a round and determine necessarily if it's a dummy or a live?
I would disagree with that.
And why would you disagree?
The rounds that have holes drilled into the side of them or the primers removed appear to visibly be dummy rounds.
And those do. Now, how about the rounds that don't shake, don't have a hole in them, and you're looking at that? You can't tell just by looking at it that's live or dummy, correct?
Correct.
And that's why you sent that one off to the lab again, right?
Yes.
Now, I want to show you what's been marked as defense I. Now, show counsel.
That's a decent start to this cross-examination. But the question is, I mean, then I'm still looking at the disorganization of this set and I'm like, this is still something that is within her wheelhouse that she arguably could have controlled somewhat, at least should have, in order to do her job, so that she can properly differentiate to minimize these risks of errors. Ooh, what was that exchange? I don't know. This prosecutor can be kind of spicy. That look that she just gave to the other attorney and then like said something, her body language tells me what she said was probably kind of a spicy comment.
Okay, ma'am, I am gonna approach and see if you recognize this photo that we've just been talking about. I'm not gonna introduce it, but I'm gonna ask you.
Sure.
And this is defense I. If you could take a look at that. You, ma'am, do you recognize that photo?
I do not.
Okay. And so you didn't take that photo?
No.
Okay. What is in that? I know we're not going to move to introduce it, but what is in this picture?
It appeared.
Hang on, I'm going to object. She's never seen the picture before. She didn't take the picture. I don't think she can answer that question without it being completely speculative.
And I'm just asking her to identify it. What is it? Not to go into detail, but what is it? Just for the record. It's a picture.
Like,
I'm just
Jason,
asking for.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bowles, since you're cross, can't you just lead her in that question? And
I
then
can.
we don't get
Sure.
out in the
I just
weeds?
wanted her to say it. Yeah, that's fine. This is a picture with rounds in it.
Oh,
In a box.
I don't like
Okay.
that.
And if I could,
I don't like that exchange in front of the jury. That's something that I'm not too thrilled about, because I don't know, those kind of exchanges shouldn't be happening between the attorneys. They should be happening with no audio, outside the presence of the jury. If anything, maybe go up to the judge for a sidebar. I don't like that.
I could have that back. Thank you. Okay, ma'am. So in terms of recognizing live versus dummy rounds, you would also agree with me that you have not been trained on the shininess of rounds and how that you can't tell a dummy or a live from their shininess, right?
Correct.
Okay. And yesterday there was some talk about patine.
Please
or
correct it.
patina
Yes.
on some of the rounds.
Correct it.
You remember that?
Yes.
And actually what that
So
is
glad you
just
corrected the word.
oxidation on the round case, correct?
Yes.
So in other words, when a round sits around for long enough, oxygen interacts with the metal and it's just going to turn a little color, correct?
Yes.
And because oxygen does that to the outside of a round, you don't know whether that it doesn't matter whether there's a patina as to whether it's live or a dummy, correct?
Correct.
Because they have the same cases.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to the FBI, there were several things that were sent to the FBI. You testified yesterday for testing, correct?
Yes.
And there was DNA testing requested on the revolver that was used by Mr. Baldwin, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that that was submitted.
Yes.
Now, yesterday you talked about somebody told you at the FBI that the live rounds could not be tested for DNA. You remember that?
Yes.
Who did you talk to specifically?
I don't recall who I specifically spoke to at the lab.
Okay. Did you make that call?
To not send them?
No, did you make the call to the FBI personally?
Yes, I did, along with their representative for our area, who was Agent Cortez.
Cortez. Okay. Now, were you aware that we had requested those rounds, fingerprints and DNA be taken from them?
That you requested it?
Yes.
No.
Okay. You were never told that?
No.
Okay. And you're also aware that those live rounds.
This is important because if they can identify some DNA on those live rounds that were found, and it's someone other than Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, then that could identify who brought those onto the set, if not Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. So that's, that's potentially an important point for the defense. At the very least, they want to introduce that question for the jury to say, well, how can we definitively say that that would have been important to know, is to be able to get that DNA evidence? Now, we don't know, we can never know, but what if we could have? Was that a mistake by the investigators? Is that something that in other cases has been done? That's going to be an interesting thing to see if the defense can pull off.
Rounds were never tested for their fingerprints.
I was not aware of that. It was my understanding that they were tested for fingerprints.
Well, then you're not aware that I asked Detective Hancock to do that and it wasn't done? You're not aware of that?
Objection to the form of question. He's asking for speculation.
Well,
How would she know
no.
what he says to Detective Hancock?
He's asking
not
if she
asking
was.
her to speculate.
Yeah.
but, she's answering your question about whether you are aware. I don't know if this I think you can follow up about why.
Without
what-
speculating. Yeah. No,
What's the
that's
purpose of asking this witness?
a decent question.
About those things.
Yes, and yesterday you testified that these live rounds have been sent for fingerprints,
That was my understanding.
but that you didn't talk to Detective Hancock to see that she didn't do that?
It's my understanding that it got done.
Where's the report on that?
The FBI report on that?
Yes,
I would assume that the FBI would have it.
okay.
assumption.
And are you familiar with that report and Mr. Ziegler's report?
I am not.
Okay, so you haven't read that recently?
Not recently, no.
Okay, so you don't have firsthand knowledge that those live rounds were tested for fingerprints, correct?
Correct.
So you're just going on an assumption.
It
That's
was
what you understood.
the information that I had from the lab.
All right, just wait, all right?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
I'm sorry to interrupt. He's setting things, okay.
Oh,
No.
Is there something going on in the
Sorry
courtroom that
to
we don't
oh,
see?
no, sorry, Your Honor. Okay, so again, that was just what you thought, but it wasn't. Anyway, we'll get into that with Detective Hancock. Okay. With regard to
So that's a question.
your role as a crime scene technician, you also took a series of photos of different scenes, correct?
Yes.
And that included the church,
Yes.
and that included the prop truck,
Yes.
and that included Seth Kinney's business PDQ, correct?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to the prop truck, do you recall when that search warrant occurred?
For the prop truck
Yes.
took place on October 27th.
Okay. And when did the search of Seth Kinney's PDQ business take place?
November 30th.
And then the incident on set, the shooting on set, that occurred October 21st, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So October 21st, the prop truck is searched 6 days later, is that correct?
Yes.
And then Seth Kinney's place is not searched for over a month, correct?
Yes.
So during that month period, you have no idea whether Mr. Kinney disposed of rounds or got rid of rounds. You have no idea whether that happened.
No.
Okay. And were you aware that Mr. Kinney had received rounds from the set of Yellowstone 1883?
Yes.
Because one of those things inside his shop said live 1883, correct?
Yes.
Now, that, as I understand, that was empty at the time of the search warrant, correct?
No.
That canister was not empty?
The box marked live ammo 1883 is the only area we found live rounds.
Okay. Did he not have any other live rounds in that shop?
I don't believe so, no.
Because there were, and we'll show pictures in a little bit, but there were tons of ammunition boxes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So did you search all of those boxes? Did you look into all those boxes?
I believe so, yes.
Every one of them?
I can't be certain.
Okay. Because there's a lot of them. You remember
Yes.
that? Yeah. Did you, in fact, just take Seth Kinney's word on what was live and what was not?
No, I know that boxes were dug through and it was a time-consuming process.
Now, you didn't seize all of the rounds from that 1883 can, did you?
I collected the live rounds that were in the box marked 1883 that were 45 Colt.
Did you get all the 45 rounds from that canister?
Yes, all of the 45 rounds.
And did you ask him whether he had gotten rid of some of the rounds or used some of the rounds prior to you all getting there for the search?
I did not interview Seth Kinney.
Okay. So you don't know the answer to that?
No.
Okay. Now, earlier, you showed a picture of the Mary Kay bag. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And there was a box inside it with blue writing that we saw. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And it said something like dummy rounds 45 LC.
Yes.
And you know that that's Seth Kinney's box, correct?
Yes, I know.
Okay. And that box was found in the prop truck?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, Now, you're not aware whether Sarah Zachary may have taken anything from the prop cart to the prop truck, or are you?
I do not know.
Okay. So if she had removed anything from the prop cart and taken it to the prop truck, you would not know that. Is that what you're telling the jury?
Correct.
So Seth Kinney's box, you have no idea whether that was on the prop cart, but it was moved to the prop truck, do you?
No.
Now, are you aware that you responded to the scene at the time of the shooting, right? Right after the shooting.
Yes.
How long did it take you to get there after?
It took me several minutes. We had a meeting in our criminal investigations division first before we all headed out to the scene.
How long did it take you after those several minutes to get to the scene?
I do not recall.
Okay. Was it 30 minutes? Was it an hour? How
It
long was the drive?
Was, I would say, 30 minutes at most.
Okay. So when you got there, were you aware that other sheriffs had gotten there?
Yes.
At what time, how long after, if you know, did those sheriffs report after the shooting? How long did it take for them to get there?
I do not know.
Okay. At the time you got there, did you see whether Mr. Baldwin was segregated in a vehicle?
I don't recall.
Did you see that Miss Gutierrez was, though?
Yes, I recall her being in a vehicle.
Do you recall seeing Alec Baldwin talking on his cell phone and just walking around?
No, I don't recall that.
Okay. You haven't seen any pictures like that or video or anything like that?
In the following days in media,
This is the other
yes,
boogeyman
I've
of this
seen him on the
trial,
phone
Alec
in
Baldwin.
photos.
So you're aware now, you can tell the jury he was not segregated.
I do not know.
Okay. Now, with regard to your work on set that day, you took pictures when you responded to the shooting. Did you do any interviews, anything like that?
No, I do not interview.
Okay. And your job at that time as a crime scene technician is to secure the scene, secure the evidence. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Part of your goal in securing the evidence is to make sure that you get it right, you get the chain of custody right, and you make sure that's logged. Is that right?
Yes.
Why is the chain of custody so important?
The chain of custody is essentially the tracking of where the item originated from to who has possession of it now and everything in between.
Okay. And if there is a break in the chain of custody, that's a problem for you in terms of verifying that evidence, correct?
Yes.
Now, if before you got there, Miss Zachary had thrown rounds away and she had taken items from the prop cart to the prop truck, that could cause problems with the chain of custody, correct?
Well, if someone were to remove evidence from a scene, it wouldn't just cause problems for chain of custody. It would cause problems because we no longer have that evidence.
Correct. In fact, if you don't have the evidence, it's lost. That's a serious problem in a case like this, correct?
Yes.
And this is a death investigation. So you would ideally want all of the evidence that might be relevant for a jury to see later, correct?
Yes.
Now, are you aware here that Miss Zachary actually threw those rounds away?
That's beyond my scope of knowledge.
Okay. And again, we're talking about those getting thrown away. But now let's talk about if items were taken from that prop cart to the prop truck before you got there, would you agree that breaks the chain of custody? It disturbs the scene. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So in other words, when you get there and you take pictures of the prop cart, you wouldn't know if that's how it looked at the time of the shooting, would you?
No.
Yeah.
And we saw a picture of those boxes that went into Deputy Benavides' truck. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, later on, I know you put them back in the cart to take pictures, correct?
Yes.
So, and I know you weren't intending to do something, but when you placed them back, you have no idea if that was where they were before.
That was not the reasoning behind placing them into the scene.
I understand, and I'm not trying to say you're raising a certain way. I'm just saying that you did not know when you placed them back for a picture that that's exactly where they were before.
Correct.
So when the jury looks at a picture of the prop cart now, they don't know if that's where those were at the time of the shooting. That's not your fault. I'm just saying that that's a fact, correct?
Correct.
And in terms of evidence, when you're trying to, as a crime scene technician, you don't want people, for example, to reach across the crime scene tape and either grab evidence or put evidence on a cart, correct?
Correct.
Now, similarly, you would not want, as a crime scene technician, for an officer to handle a weapon with his bare hand. That wouldn't be ideal, would it?
No.
And in fact, you're trying to get DNA later and fingerprints, but did you see the camera of the deputy Benavides that handled that weapon with his bare hand?
Yes.
Okay, and again, that's not ideal, is it?
No.
In terms of that, those rounds, you talked about the box, and you talked about different boxes that were found in that day, correct?
Yes.
Now, you have no idea whether Miss Zachary or Miss Gutierrez-Reed used those rounds on a day and then put them back in a different box, do you?
No.
So if you, for example, if these rounds were used the day before and they were changed out into a different box, you would have no way of knowing that, would you?
No.
So in other words, when we just went through a direct examination that these rounds came from this box and these rounds came from that box, you really have no idea where those rounds originated from, which box, do you?
My statements for where they originated at that time.
Yes, so that was just that day. But my question is, you do not know if 3 days before these rounds were in that box and these rounds were in that box. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, and I'm not, well, when you say the boxes were handed to Benavides, isn't it true that actually he just grabbed those boxes?
I do not know.
Okay, so when you said they were handed to him, you really didn't know that.
No, that was the information that I was given.
Okay, but again, the lapel cam, everybody can watch it and see it, but for example, it doesn't look like anybody handed it to him. But you haven't seen it?
That's argumentative. He
No,
shouldn't
you're
be
right. No, she's
testifying.
right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'll move forward on that.
Yeah, he's testifying.
Now, I do want to show you some pictures
That was a proper
that
objection.
we're going to label, and I think by stipulation that we would ask these to be introduced. And if it's possible, if Mr. Bullion could.
J through N.
J through what?
J through N.
M as in Mary?
N is in Nancy, Judge.
All right, so, they're moving through the admission. Do you have any objection?
I don't have any objection, as long as they are certain that these are photos that Ms. Popple took.
That's fine.
Well, usually you would take the photos and see if she recognizes them.
There's quite a few, Judge. It'll be much faster to do it than this one.
All right, if the state isn't objecting,
That's fine. Let's just show her what
there's
you have.
5 of them, right?
No, I think.
There's 5 sets of photos.
Oh,
All right, and I've got some questions lined up from some folks that I'll answer at some point. Just so you guys know, I'm saving them for a moment. I know we're already a little bit behind. We'll get caught up on the recess, like I said before.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna see some photos here.
J through N is admitted series of photos. You may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor, and we'll try to move fairly quickly through.
The jury can stand up from top. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Which one do you want to start with?
Okay, if we can start with the photos from the Seth Kenny business, PDQ props.
Mr. Bowles, are you intending to admit every single photo there?
Yes.
Yes, but we don't want to show them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're just going to kind of,
no problem.
okay. And ma'am, can I first ask you, did you say that you had taken some of these photos or all of these photos?
Yes, all of these photos.
Okay. And again, this is from the search warrant of Seth Kenny's business in
Yeah.
November? Okay.
Yes.
Now I want to say, just quickly, what is this shot?
This is the back alley entrance into the building.
Okay, next.
That
What a mess.
same alley entrance.
Okay.
Excuse me, can you say on the record which exhibit? It's J. They're enmassing things into J.
All right. Mr. Williams,
When you
what was it?
switch to K, let us know.
J. Yes.
When you switch to K, let us know.
Yeah.
You can't get those pictures any bigger, just out of curiosity? I mean, it's up to you, but.
Yes, can we make those a little bigger, Mr. Williams, if you could zoom in? Okay, and ma'am, did you say what that one was?
This is another angle from that back alley.
Okay, next.
Again, a different angle from the back alley. The gate leading into the back alley.
Now, is this how this looked? Okay, this one too. This is how this looked when you went in?
Yes.
Does that appear to be disorganized?
Yes.
Mhm. Yes.
And again, this one is very disorganized?
Yes.
Okay, next one. What is this picture?
This is facing the entrance from where we came in.
Again, there's stuff everywhere. You agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, the next one. Okay, what is that one?
I believe this was a look into a closet.
Okay, and is there pizza boxes there?
Yes.
Did you know if he lived here too, Seth Kenny?
I do not.
Okay, and go to the next. All right, and is that the one, Mr. Billing, with the rounds? If you can show that. Okay, what are these we're seeing?
Now those in
These were
comparison look
boxes and boxes
organized.
of ammunition.
Nice
And
job,
this is what I
defense.
was kind of mentioning earlier. There was a lot of these, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there was other places where these were. Okay, here are these more boxes,
Yes.
and are these all different kinds of ammunition?
I believe so. Yes.
And again, I think you said you couldn't recall whether you all went through all those boxes.
No, I could not recall.
Okay, and keep going. Okay, we're flipping kind of quickly, but what is this this machine?
I believe this was a vice that was sitting on a counter.
Okay, and then more ammo boxes.
Yes.
Now zoom in on this. Did you see any of them with the JS?
Yes.
And you know, that's a fairly common box. Have you seen that in Seth Kenny's business as well?
Yes.
Now, these ammo boxes in general, you're aware, aren't you, that they can be purchased off the internet for 25 for $10?
I don't know that. So.
Okay. I mean, but these are standard little white boxes. They're all over the place. Are you aware of that?
That they're standard white boxes. Yes.
Okay. And these, I mean, you're familiar with these, aren't you, in your job? You
With-
see these type of boxes?
I see ammo boxes, not necessarily all white ones with certain stamps on them.
Okay. Well, how often do you see JS?
Not a lot.
Okay, but you do see them from time to time.
Not that I recall.
Okay, well, there's a lot there.
Well, yes, in
Yeah.
this case, there were a lot of JS boxes, but in
Okay.
my 7 years crime scene tech, I haven't seen a lot of JS boxes.
Do you know what JS is?
No.
Okay. Okay, next one. And again, we got
Come on, I want to see
32
the
Smith
photos.
and
Not the
Wesson,
defendant.
22. These are more ammo, right?
Yes.
Okay, next.
More-
Again, the JS. Is that the JS there?
Yes.
Okay. If you can move forward. Okay, and what are these?
These are spent casings.
Do you see the primer, how it's dented?
Yes.
What is the significance of that?
That means that this round has been fired, so a firing pin has created that indent in this casing.
Are you aware that there's a thing where a primer can be slightly dented, and then if it was struck again, it could go off? Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
If a hammer hits a primer and it doesn't strike it hard enough, it can create a small indentation or dent in
I'm
that,
gonna
correct?
object.
He's testifying again.
Pretty far outside her scope of expertise, and we've got plenty of other witnesses.
Oh, but that's not
Sure,
great, though.
We do.
It's not great to be saying your own witness doesn't have expertise to understand something like this when she's the one that's been testifying to the difference between dummy rounds and live rounds and blanks and these different caliber rounds. That's not great to hear that coming from the prosecution's mouth, saying this is outside her expertise. Okay, so now you've just pointed out a limitation in her expertise as well.
Okay,
Let's
we
move
do.
on.
Okay. If
I
you
don't
move
love
to the
that
next
if
picture,
I'm
Mr.
for the
Billion.
state.
And then again, what are just you give the jury just an idea of what these are? Is that more ammo?
Yes.
Okay. And again, that's and that one in particular was just in a gray tub.
Yes.
Okay. And the next one. What are some of these pictures?
This was the front room area.
Again, is that more ammo boxes in this?
It's a bit of
particular picture?
juxtaposition in one
Yes.
photo there. That's defense loves that.
Okay, and again, is that a JS notation?
Yes.
Okay. And you can move forward, please, Mr. Billion. Okay, when you go back one, is that a gun belt?
Yes.
Okay, and go forward. And again, more ammo?
Yes.
Okay, and we've seen enough of those. If unless you have anything in particular, but that's we get the flavor of those. If you can move to the church pictures.
Is that K now?
There's a couple that are different.
Okay, go ahead. Put those up.
We're still in J.
Okay, what is this picture?
This was a box that was located marked live ammo 1883.
And again, that was what we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Okay. And what is this one?
This is an overview of where that box was located.
Okay. And finally, what is this one?
This is what was inside of that box.
Okay, and there's several in that live ammo. There's several boxes here, correct?
Yes.
What is that? What were those that said lead?
I don't recall.
Okay, you don't recall what was inside those?
No.
Okay, they're labeled various types. Did you go through all those?
Yes.
But you can't tell the jury today what was in them?
I don't recall what was in them. I only collected 45 live rounds out of this box.
Okay, and here's 45 LC, is that right?
Yes.
What are those loose rounds around it?
Those were, I believe some of them were live 45 rounds.
Okay, were those collected?
Yes.
Okay, and how about these?
This was a close-up of what was in that box marked 45 LC.
Okay. And you know what is in this picture?
This was a green ammunition box that was located.
And these appear to be more dummy rounds. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, if we can move to K.
Is there going to be some kind of demarcation so that we know which is J, which is K?
Yes, Your Honor. We need to go back and make sure that that's demarcated. We'll do that. Well, while we're finding that, I have a couple more questions. The round you talked about in government or states 49 earlier that had ball bearings in it that didn't shake or apparently were stuck inside. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that was the one that you sent off to the FBI lab?
Yes.
So that would have been a round potentially on set that didn't rattle.
Yes.
And that
I don't think she's a paralegal, guys.
so that would have been a round potentially on set that did not
She's got to be an
rattle,
attorney on the team.
correct?
Yes.
No
But,
way is she going to go up there if
you had to
she's
send
a
that off to
paralegal
the
or
FBI
legal
lab for
assistant.
confirmation to determine that, correct?
Yes.
And that's not something either Miss Zachary or Miss Gutierrez-Reed had the luxury of on the set, did they?
No.
Okay. We also heard yesterday Miss Morrissey shook a round into the microphone. You remember that?
Yes.
And asked everybody if they could hear it?
Yes.
Again, that's not something Miss Zachary or Miss Gutierrez-Reed had the luxury of on set, did they?
Of rattling around?
Of having a microphone so they can rattle it and have everybody hear on a microphone.
No, they didn't have a microphone. That I
Okay.
know of.
Okay, do you have the church pictures ready?
Yeah.
Can we put those up? Can you just quickly tell us kind of what we're looking at here? Is this David Halls?
I don't know who the individual in the back is. I was taking a photograph of the back of Mr. Baldwin.
Okay, so earlier, did you tell
And some
me you
butt
didn't
shots.
see Mr. Baldwin?
This was the only interaction I had with him was photographing what he was wearing and then taking the clothing that he had on.
Okay, well then you knew when you photographed him, he wasn't segregated in a car.
Well, when I photographed him, he wasn't. I have no idea what he was doing before or after that.
Well, right then he's standing outside. How long did you see him?
My interaction with him was probably less than 10 minutes.
Your Honor, she's indicated that she has no idea whether he was segregated or not, and we have plenty of other witnesses that can reasonably answer this.
That's okay. He can ask that question and I
And
think
then
he
I'll
got
move
the
forward.
answer.
Yes, and I'll move forward after that. Okay, so ma'am, what is this?
This is the outside of the church.
Okay. And this one?
Another angle of what's outside the church.
Do you know what the cart is that we just saw?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. The cart that's in the photo now.
Yeah, just we went by it. If you could go, go the other way. This one.
That was one of multiple equipment carts that was located outside.
And when you say equipment carts, were these, so these were on set, productions carts when you got there?
Yes.
Okay, keep going. And what is that? That big structure in the back of that photo?
Are you talking about the small structure or are you talking about the white structure?
The white structure.
I believe that was the prop truck.
Okay. And do you see that appears to be outside of the crime scene tape?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and these are more photos of the church, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the next?
The prop truck.
Oh, the prop truck. Okay, can we put those up? And this prop truck search was just October 20th.
If you guys hear a dog barking, it's because my friends they've got a couple dogs. So I told them that they are more than welcome to let the dogs in here because I told them that you guys all love animals. But just so you guys know, that would be the puppers probably getting fed is my guess.
The 27th, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of questions about this crime scene.
Mr. Gordon,
Timing,
what is the letter?
separation of people, things outside the tape.
M as in Mary.
Okay, just a minute. Did we finish K and L or?
Yes.
Okay, well, all right, so we went into K. You didn't tell us when we went into L.
I apologize, Your Honor. All the church photos were L that we just saw.
All right, let's make sure that when you send them to the jury, they have them properly marked, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All
Yes.
right, M.
Okay, this is M as in Mary, this series. Now, what is this here?
This is the outside of the prop truck.
Okay. And move, if you can. This is the exterior and side of the truck.
Yes.
Moving real fast.
And what is this picture of?
This is the side door entrance into the truck.
Okay. And this is the interior?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and this is a gun belt in the interior of that truck?
Yes.
Okay. And what are these we're seeing now that we're zooming in?
This in particular is a 45 LC ammo box.
Also approach for a moment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let me see if maybe I can answer a question while they're sidebarring. Tish, the prosecution said that this trial will be weeks long. What will happen with Menendez Mondays when you have more time or day for Menendez Mondays? So while this trial is going on, I'm gonna push off Menendez Mondays just because we're not gonna have time for both. So putting a pause on that, we'll resume when trial ends. I'm also going to be doing the Karen Reed trial, but I should have, I think, about a week in between. So I can at least do at least one day of classic trial / Menendez Mondays before the Karen Reed trial starts as well. Debbie Faison Cooks. Are there other charges besides involuntary manslaughter for the others that got shot? Sorry if you said I forgot. No. So the answer to that is no. I don't think I mentioned this, but it's just 2 alternative counts of involuntary manslaughter. None
All right, we're
for
going to take our morning break.
none for what
Please don't
happened
talk
with
among
Joel
yourselves
Souza.
or anyone else about the evidence received here in court. Thank you.
All rise.
Okay. Alrighty. We are going to go ahead and fast forward here. Okay, now we're back to live. Let me answer some more questions though while we're waiting. Debbie Faison Cook also wanted to know, why do you need to practice shooting if you're only going to shoot a fake gun? So shooting a fake gun or shooting a real gun with dummy rounds is not going to have the same kind of recoil as shooting a gun with live rounds because it doesn't have the same like gunpowder and whatnot. So one of the things that they mentioned in the defense opening statement is that they'll train actors on using a gun with live rounds so that they can understand how a gun looks and feels when you shoot it. This way, when they are shooting on set and they're using a dummy round, they're able to themselves manipulate the firearm that they're using to look like the real thing. And hopefully they've done it enough that they understand how it looks, how it feels, to make it look a little bit more realistic. So that's why they would practice. They would do actual practice with real guns, real live ammunition. Was Baldwin really an executive producer in name or in name only? According to the prosecution, according to the state, they came across some evidence that he is more than just a producer in name only. He had some authority on the set, that actually had some power, had some decision making authority, gave him the ability to give some direction on important matters. This is what they're saying. We don't know exactly what they have that indicates that. At least I don't know. I haven't dug into the filings in the Baldwin case like I have in the Halyna Hutchins, the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed case. But I mean, at some point we'll find out what that is. Whether that's compelling or not, I don't know. We'll find out. Let's see here. Tish, is she using that technique where you object in order to disrupt the phrasing? Or is it probably legit objections? You know what I mean? Yeah, so is this more strategic objections, or is this more what's the word for it? More strategic objections, or like substantive objections? Let's see, I'm thinking back to when you asked this, and I probably should have, this is one I probably should have paused and answered right away. Apologize for that. But I think that, there was one that she objected on speculation, and it definitely wasn't calling for speculation. He was just asking her if she knew about something, which is not calling for speculation. It's literally asking, is this in your brain? Not asking, why would you or why wouldn't you know this, or what did someone else know? The witness had to end up answering it because it wasn't speculative. Now, in that moment, I did have a feeling that was just to break it up, because folks in the chat noticed this too, that the witness was starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. She was definitely starting to get tense up there on cross-examination, especially the more that the defense attorney dug into this question of, you didn't look at this, you didn't look at that. You don't know how much time passed between, the shooting and when this was collected. You don't know who could have gone there, who could have put something on there, who could have taken something off, all kinds of things like that is bound to make someone very uncomfortable when that is their job, is to protect and maintain a crime scene. And so she was definitely getting very uncomfortable with that. So it could have been for that reason, to just kind of break it up. And he was also making some good points around that point when she did object. So I do think that was a strategic objection there to try to break things up. Arterisnan question, do you think I'm a pervert now, as I'm developing a fetish for breaking all the glass in the game Dying Light? Super pertinent to the case. I don't know. I haven't played Dying Light. Mr. Bytes has not played Dying Light, at least not that I'm aware of. So I'm not sure. I can't comment on that. Thanks for the question. So yeah, I mean, this cross-examination is doing well. I like the style of the defense attorneys personally. They're not overly dramatic. They're not overly harsh, but they are asking the right questions. Are they all of the questions that they need in order to secure an acquittal for their client? Not quite yet, but there's a number of questions. There's a number of questions. Like a huge issue was her not properly checking the gun before handing it off to David Hall. That's a huge issue. Huge issue. Like, regardless of where the rounds come from, if she knew that there were live rounds, especially, and then she didn't properly check it, she just kind of spun it around, didn't really look at it, just looked at the back. No way to know from the back. I mean, we can tell that now, right? You've got to take it out, look at it from the side, see if it has a hole in it, maybe shake it. Right now, the defense attorney is introducing some muddiness about how to tell if it's a dummy round versus how to tell if it's a live round by saying, you've got to send this to the FBI so that they can do their investigation and they can determine if it's a dummy round or a live round, because sometimes it'll look like a dummy round, but it's actually a live round, or it'll look like a live round, it's actually a dummy round. There's a number of issues with that. Well, one main issue with that, which is that what's the point in having an armorer then? You need to have someone on set who can tell the difference. And that has to be her. That's down to her. That's down to her. Number one, she needs to be able to tell the difference. Number two, she needs to do the things that she needs to do in order to tell the difference. So sorry, I have a cough drop. So if she didn't properly check that, for a lot of people, I think it doesn't really matter where the live rounds came from. Regardless of if she knew that there were live rounds on set, but especially if she knew that there were live rounds on set and she knew that there was a possibility and one of those rounds could be a live round, not properly checking the gun beforehand is a huge issue for the defense. Also, I haven't seen her interrogation. This is one thing that I kind of wish that I had looked at before trial started and before making my primary video. But I haven't seen her interrogation with the police, and I have heard that she made all kinds of damning admissions and statements, which are not good. And that's bound to come up in this case too. So she's going to have to contend with that as well, regardless of where these rounds come from. That said, at this point, the defense isn't going to be able to hit every single question all at once, right? The question of where did the live rounds come from? Did she check the gun properly? Were there other issues? Like you can go down the list and work your way through that witness by witness. So far, this witness here is talking about the overall scene, talking about the integrity of the scene, talking about where these things could have come from, where these rounds could have come from. They're doing well so far for their overall objectives. This is what they're trying to get out of this witness, and I think they're doing a decent job of it. So anyway, let's see here. We still have this guy here. Oops, sorry, hang on 1 second. 1 minute here. Okay. We were maybe about 5 minutes behind at the point that we got caught up. Debbie Faison Cook, can they play the interrogation in court? Yes. Yes, they can, because it is an out of court statement, but actually I would need to look at the specific rules in New Mexico, but assuming it's like the federal rules, that is an assumption. Assuming it's like the federal rules, it's an admission by a party opponent. The state can introduce an admission that's against her own interests. So that's the reason why she might end up actually having to testify, which was not what I was thinking going into this trial, not realizing how bad her interrogation was. But yeah, they can definitely play the interrogation, at least portions of it in court. And I fully anticipate that they will. They'll probably bring it in through the person that was interrogating her, bring them on as a witness. David Puff, a trained professional armorer, would be able to tell the difference, and the defense is pretty adamant that she's competent and well trained. They are definitely adamant. They are adamant. So what I'm looking for from the defense at this point is for them to give an explanation as to how she was able to differentiate between all these rounds. Because even though just before the break, they did a good job of showing, hey, look, her stuff was actually pretty damn organized in comparison to all of the prop stuff in general. Like in comparison to everything else that was in the prop room, the stuff that was her boxes of rounds and everything, all of the rifles are lined up on the wall. All of that stuff was actually relatively well organized. The stuff on the prop card, obviously, terrible. The stuff in the Mary Kay bag, terrible. Stuff mixed up, live rounds, dummy rounds, all kinds of things just mixed up in terrible, terrible ways. But seeing how organized she was, at least within the prop room or the prop building, in comparison to everything else, is good for the defense. It still doesn't change the fact that they found live rounds mixed in with dummy rounds. Doesn't change that. The question is, can they make a good showing to the jury that it wasn't her fault that those got mixed up? It's hard to do that when she's the one that's responsible for maintaining all of that stuff. So yeah, but back to her being able to tell the difference. At some point, like they're definitely trying to make it look less simple than the prosecution is, how to differentiate between dummy rounds and live rounds. The prosecution yesterday made it nice and clear. They're like, look, here's how you can differentiate a dummy round. Dummy rounds either have a hole on the side, or when you pick them up and shake them, they rattle, or they're missing a primer. That's how you can tell the difference between these, basically. Beyond that, maybe some forensic testing, but that's a good way to figure out that this is a dummy round. He's introduced some doubt today because, there were some rounds that they found that they thought were live, but were actually dummy. And so they had to get those sent into the FBI and do forensic analysis of them. Okay, that's fine. But I mean, how is Hannah Gutierrez-Reed able to do that? And if not, why wasn't she more adamant about the organization of these items on set? Oh. Another question here. Danny Hardesty, how does the alleged bag of cocaine play into all of this? So, at the end of the day, on October 21st, after the shooting happened, apparently this happened at the hotel, not on set, but at the hotel, which was a little bit of a distance away. She handed off a bag of allegedly cocaine. This is what they allege. I think the defense probably is going to allege it's not cocaine. She handed it off to a friend or acquaintance and basically asked her, like, hey, can you hold on to this for me for a while? And then weeks or months later was like haranguing that friend or acquaintance, texting them. Didn't mean to thumbs up. Was texting them to like harangue them about like, hey, can I have my bag of goodies back from you? Please let me have it back. And I don't know if she ever ended up getting it back. But what happened is the police got wind of that and said that this is evidence tampering because they're alleging that she was on drugs while on set. So admittedly, there was a very, very, very thin nexus that the judge found to allow these two charges to be tried together. I thought the judge was going to go the other way during the hearing, but she ended up saying that the state met their burden of showing that there was a connection between these drugs and the allegation that she was doing drugs on set while handling live rounds and dummy rounds and whatnot. And the reason for that is because there is a witness, and I think it may have been the person that she ended up handing the cocaine off to, allegedly. There was a witness who said that there was a night that she saw in Hannah's room live rounds and dummy rounds in her hotel room, and also there was cocaine and maybe alcohol, drugs and alcohol, generally speaking. She saw them all together. And so the defense or the prosecution wants to argue that that's evidence that she was mixing all of these things together all the time. Maybe she was even differentiating between, or she was separating out dummy rounds and live rounds in her hotel room while being on drugs and then taking them on set. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to prove that. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see what the state brings forward to prove those allegations, because there's a lot of evidence of her doing drugs and alcohol offset while at the hotel at the end of the day, non-working hours. No evidence as to how much or what time, but there's evidence of her having done it during the overall timing of production. There's nothing so far to suggest, or at least that I've come across, that there's no clear evidence, I should say, of her doing drugs and alcohol on set or during working hours. So we'll see. I keep doing the thumbs up by accident. So yeah, that's how that all plays into this. Joe, I'm wondering if they try and show that they bullied her into rushing and skipping steps to save time and money, and that if she refused, it would adversely affect her career. That's exactly what the defense wants to show. That's exactly what the jury, what the defense wants the jury to take away from all of this, is that her autonomy over her role was completely taken away from her by other people. And that, you know, if she wanted to continue having a job in Hollywood, she had to play ball with these people and their crazy demands. That's probably where the defense is going to be going with all of this. Whether that's going to be convincing, I don't know. We'll find out. Anyone who is well versed with firearms, especially someone who spends a lot of time around firearms, is probably still going to look at an argument like that and say tough titties. Like, I'm sorry, you're still in charge of something that is very dangerous. And you know, the answer is either force them to listen to you or quit. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be convincing to the jury or not. You might have some folks on the jury that are pretty comfortable with firearms who will look at that and be like, I don't care. I really don't care. Like, you should have just quit. But we'll see. Let me keep going down here. You guys are making some really good points and asking some good questions here. Nick, my guess is that they are trying to say that the dummy rounds can be differentiated, but it takes time and concentration to do so, which she asked for, but was not given, meaning she had to rush it. That's a good point. That's a very good point. I hope that they do end up getting around to clarifying that, because that would be very helpful to the defense to say, hey, look, this just takes time. She asked for it. She said that these problems can happen. And this is what ended up happening. But again, you could still have people that say tough titties. You know, like, safety is safety, and that's your responsibility as the armorer. Maybe. Ginny Hillier. Weird. Why didn't you just dispose of the alleged coke? Real smart. I mean, we can't really speculate as to why she wouldn't. Could be the expense, could be, you know, like a neurochemical connection, so to speak. Perhaps addiction, who knows? I don't know. Or just, not wanting to let something go to waste. I don't know. I don't know. Going on down the line. Culperistic. I think best thing defense did is poke holes in the idea the prosecution knows Hannah brought the ammo on set. The chain of custody seems pretty sloppy on the ammo, at least from this witness POV. I think you're right. This is a good thing that they've been doing is, overall in the investigation, poking holes in that investigation. And the thing is, they've been doing it in a way that's not hypercritical, but just saying, hey, look, this is what the circumstances were. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying you're bad at your job. But there were only so many first responders who responded to the scene. There was only so many of you that ended up coming for one reason or another. And this was what you had to do. And these were the circumstances. And as a result, we don't, there are so many things we don't know. We don't know if someone touched that prop card. We don't know how many people put their fingerprints all over, live rounds or dummy rounds because they decided to just reach down, not thinking about the fact that this is evidence. So, yeah. Moving on down the line. Ginny Hillier, should they have tested everyone involved? That would have been pretty hard, but too bad they didn't. Well, that would have been a massive undertaking because there was 200, 300 people on set. And also, arguably, the only ones that you would need to test, like doing a drug test, would be people who are responsible for handling those kinds of things. People who are responsible for having a clear head so that they can maintain safety. Anyone who basically has any sort of responsibility in safety could have been tested, which is not everybody on set. Not every actor, not every, boom mic guy or lighting guy. Sorry, I don't know all of the names of all of the roles on set. But, set design guy. That doesn't necessarily require someone to be in charge of safety in some way, or makeup, as an example. So they don't need to test everyone, but there are a number of people that they could have tested, to include Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, and they didn't. So that is an open question, properly opened by the defense. Christina Kirshner, as a juror, I would find the hotel drugs to be another notch on her being incompetent and reckless. Perhaps, or it really is propensity evidence, because someone can do all kinds of crazy things in their off hours and be incredibly professional when it's time to be incredibly professional. I don't know if you've known anyone who decided to, say, drink a lot in their off hours. But then when it came time to get to it, and do their job, then they actually ended up doing a very good job. That's not to say that, I'm not condoning necessarily behaviors, that are, necessarily drug and alcohol use, but there are people who are like that and are able to do jobs without incident, at least for a period of time.
All right, you may be seated.
A Scout and a Bradley, thanks so much for the super chat. They said gun was empty when they found it. It was the gun loaded with blanks or full loaded. That's my question. Yes. Who emptied it? Why did they empty it? That's another point for the defense there, because someone
Yes,
has tampered with it.
George, if you could help me And I'm going to ask permission at this point to publish exhibit in the N series, and I'll be labeling as we go
In the
individually.
N is in Nancy series?
N is in Nancy
Okay.
series,
So,
and I will individually label each of them.
okay, so what happened to the M's? Because we just started with the M's and then I interrupted you, so,
We're done with those, Judge.
okay, all right, I understand.
And those will be labeled as well.
Okay.
Your Honor. Yeah. Okay, ma'am, can you see that photo which is N as in Nancy 1?
No,
You can't see it? Oh,
there's nothing on my screen.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. If you could please tell the jury what that is.
This was a gun belt that was located in the prop truck.
Okay, and N2.
A different angle of that gun belt.
Okay, and how about N3?
This is a close-up of some of the rounds that were in that belt.
Okay, and do you see different types of rounds in that belt in terms of the head stabs?
I believe in this case, in this photo, they all look the same.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to show you N4, and what is that?
That's that same photo, but a little clearer. It's not as blurry.
And are those primers, what color are those primers?
Those are silver.
Okay. And how about N5?
This is a different area of the gun belt close-up.
And it has, I see 45 Colt rounds, is that correct?
Yes.
And some silver primers?
Yes.
Okay. Now, were any of these on N5 determined to be live?
No.
Okay. So these are dummy rounds with silver primers.
Yes.
Okay. How about N6?
This is a different angle of that gun belt.
N7?
A different angle of that gun belt.
And is that the same with N8?
Yes.
Okay. And what is N9?
This is a close-up of the brand marking that was on the belt.
And what is N10?
I believe these were the rounds that were in the belt that were removed from it.
Okay. And they all have that, what you called yesterday, that patina?
Yes, that darkening on the casing.
Okay. And how about N11?
This is those same rounds with the Spain Denix round removed.
The Spain Denix round was the round that didn't shake.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And N12?
This is a close-up of the silver primer on those rounds.
Okay. How about N13?
This was a box of ammunition that was taken from the prop truck.
Okay. N14?
A close-up of some of the writing on that box.
Okay. N15?
Those boxes removed from the cardboard box.
All right. And N16, is that just one of the boxes?
Yes.
Okay. N17, what is the significance of that photo?
This was the writing on the outside of that box.
And that has the JS also?
Yes.
And what is N18?
This is the styrofoam insert removed from that box.
N19?
A close-up of a different cardboard box with ammunition from the prop truck.
Okay, what is N20?
This is an overall of the Mary Kay bag from the prop truck
Okay, and again, we see in the middle of that Seth Kinney's box with the writing.
with the blue writing that states dummy rounds 45 LC.
Okay. Again, N21 appears to be a similar picture. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and N22, that is just another picture of a box.
Yes.
Okay. And N23?
That box with the styrofoam removed from it.
Okay. And what is N24?
These were items taken out of the Mary Kay bag and laid out.
Okay, what is that on the top left? What is that item?
My apologies. Your left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have thought about that. It's on my left. It's as you're looking at it up on that screen, it's the top left, right above the insert.
I believe it was a bracket of sorts that was bent.
Okay. And then on the far right top, is that just a cloth of some sort?
I believe that was one of the sock covers for the firearms.
Okay, and can you tell the jury about that? Did they keep these firearms in a sock cover?
Some of the firearms were kept in sock covers, is what they were referred to as.
Okay, and are you familiar with those sock covers?
Not particularly, no.
Okay, I'm going to go on to N25. Again, is that the same kind of photo of the gun, sock, and then the other two items you have there?
Yes.
And what is the significance of the Q-tips?
They were in the bag, and I was documenting everything that was inside that bag.
Okay. How about N26? Again, we see an insert from a box. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. N27, what is that photo?
This is a close-up of the center of the Mary Kay bag.
Okay. N28 is just a picture of another box. Is that right?
Yes.
Any significance to this particular box?
I took photographs of every single box of ammunition before it was opened and then after it was opened.
Okay, ma'am. And that was from the prop truck? You did
Yes.
that? Okay. And N29, again, is that Seth Kenny's box with the blue writing?
Yes.
Okay. N30, what is that photo?
This is the inside of that box and the rounds that were inside of it.
Okay. And these rounds have silver primers as well?
Yes.
And I think you indicated 16 were dummies?
They were all dummies.
All dummies. One was suspected live.
One was unknown, which is why it was sent to the FBI.
Okay. That was the one that didn't shake.
Yes.
Okay. And again, you don't know these rounds that are in this insert right now, you don't know if they were in there 5 days before October 21st.
No.
You have no way
And
of
he
knowing.
owns PDQ prop and arm. He's
N31,
one of the
is that
boogeymen for the
same
defense.
picture?
Yes.
And N32,
These are those rounds removed from the foam and laid out for photographs.
and same thing on N33?
A close-up of the bottom of those rounds.
Okay. And N34?
I believe this is a close-up of those rounds in the box.
Okay. And I have no further questions on those exhibits. And
So these images here with the silver primer where she says that they're dummy rounds, the prosecution went through. This is where the prosecution went through the patina on these rounds, saying patina, saying that these had a patina on them to make them look like they were aged. But the defense did bring up earlier in cross-examination. That was an interesting point when he said, is it possible for a firearm or for ammunition to develop a patina over time on its own, whether it's been treated that way or not? Of course. I mean, that's the whole point in applying a patina to a round to make it look old, is to make it look like the real thing. So, it sounds like what he's getting at with that kind of a question is you could still be looking at another round that has a silver primer that is in fact a dummy round, whether it has this patina or not. So he's definitely muddying the waters quite a bit from the simplified version that the prosecution gave on direct examination with this witness as to how to tell the difference between a dummy round and a live round, which is I think he's doing a good job of it so far, in my opinion. And again, I'm not the world's prime expert on firearms by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know a few things about firearms. A few small things. But yeah, I think he's doing a good job of it in this cross-examination of sort of messing up that framework that the prosecution established for how easy it should be to tell the difference between live round and dummy round, because the prosecution wants it to seem easy. They want it to seem simple and easy, because if the jury thinks that, then that just makes it seem even more negligent that she didn't check the things that she needed to check in order to determine whether it was a live round or a dummy round. But by introducing a little bit of complexity to that and kind of muddying up this simplified framework by saying, no, this is overly simplified, and here's how they actually needed to differentiate it, the defense is kind of throwing a wrench into the prosecution's case there. But like I said before, for the defense's sake, I hope that they are planning to introduce their own framework for how to tell the difference between a dummy round and a live round, and how she was telling the difference between a dummy round and a live round in this case, and what she needed to do in order to do that. Because if she had a process, and like someone said in the chat earlier, if she had a process and that process just was required time and attention and focus, and she wasn't being allowed that time and attention and focus because of the pressures of other people above her, that can help minimize her guilt. So we'll see.
That's all the questions I have.
Do you want redirect?
I'm sorry, Hannah.
Another CG. No, there were a number of live rounds that were found on set. Quite a few. I mean, I would say there definitely were more dummy rounds than live rounds, but there definitely were quite a few live rounds that were found on set.
Ms. Popple, you were asked a series of questions about the search of PDQ props. So I'd like to ask you some questions about that. Hang on, let me get myself situated with my notes.
Yeah, that was an interesting point too, that how long it took them to actually search PDQ props.
Hang on just a second, I'm missing something. When you participated in the search of PDQ props, did law enforcement officers assist you?
Yes.
How many people were present, if you recall, at the search of that location?
Myself, Detective Hancock, and Sergeant Christopher Zook.
And it looked like there was a lot of stuff in there. Is that right?
Yes.
But what's your understanding of what kind of business PDQ is?
That they provide props to movie sets.
Do they have to have props to provide props to movie sets?
That's a weird question.
I don't, yes. And that would make sense.
Did the entire business appear to be full of movie props?
Yes.
Okay. And the live ammunition that you found was just that one box, is that right?
Yes.
And when I say the one box, the gray box that had boxes in it,
Yes. Marked as 1883.
and it was marked clearly as live.
Yes.
And that was the only live ammunition you found there.
Yes.
And Mr. Bowles asked you and showed you some photos of ammunition that was at PDQ that had the JS on the label. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did you find any 45 long Colt dummies when you were doing your search of PDQ props?
I don't recall.
Would it help you if you looked at your report?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you take a minute and look at your report? Did that refresh your memory?
Yes. There was at least a gun belt that had dummy ammunition in it.
Other than that gun belt, did you find any boxes of 45 long Colt dummies?
I believe so, yes.
You do?
There were, you know what? I apologize. It's not specified in my report if there were additional dummies specific to 45 long Colts located. Our intent was only to find live ammunition at that point.
That was the reason you were searching it?
Yes.
Okay. Did you find any boxes, if you recall, and if not, because it wasn't the focus of your search, that's fine, just tell us. Did you find any boxes of ammunition that match the one that's on your screen?
I don't recall.
If you were to, not that I'm going to ask you to do it now, don't worry. If you were to take some time and review all of the photos that you took at PDQ, do you think that would help you answer that question?
Yes.
Okay, great. And it's my understanding, based on your cross-examination testimony, that in terms of the live ammunition, you only collected 45 caliber ammunition.
Yes.
Was there other caliber live ammunition?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So the 45 long Colt live ammunition that you collected, that we've looked at photos of, that's the only live ammunition that was there.
Yes.
Okay. You were asked some questions on cross-examination about, you wouldn't know if Sarah Zachary moved evidence from the prop cart to the prop truck. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
And let me ask you, do you know whether Ms. Gutierrez ever took anything out of the prop truck before it was searched?
No, I do not know.
Mr. Bowles asked you some questions about whether you've received any training in how to distinguish dummy rounds and blank rounds from live rounds. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you indicated you haven't received that training. Is that right?
Correct.
So, in your experience, are movie set crime scenes very common?
No.
Do you have training in guns and ammunition?
Yes, I do.
And are you capable of measuring things?
Yes.
So without specific training, you are capable of measuring the 6mm projectile or the 4mm projectile, because you can use a ruler, right?
Yes.
And you did that in this case. Are you capable of distinguishing brass primers from silver primers?
Yes.
Are you capable of distinguishing different shaped projectiles?
Yes.
Based on your work on this case, how do you tell a dummy round from a live round?
In this case in particular, when a large amount of the dummy rounds, when shaken, would have a rattle to it instead of having gunpowder inside of it.
And so specifically, what about that tells you that they're dummies and not live ammunition?
Well, live ammunition has gunpowder inside of it, so you would not hear that kind of noise.
Because you don't have BBs in with the gunpowder.
Correct.
Okay. And the other dummy rounds, how were you able to distinguish them from the live rounds?
There were holes drilled through the sides of them.
I mean, this isn't rocket science, right?
Right.
This is pretty easy.
Yes.
And you actually, just to be safe, you sent some dummy rounds to the FBI, right?
Yes.
Did any of the dummy rounds that you sent to the FBI come back as live rounds?
No.
Yeah, I'm not certain this is clarifying things.
In terms of the dummy rounds that you have in evidence, how many dummy rounds don't rattle and don't have a hole in the side?
2.
Thank you. 2 out of how many?
250.
When you were at PDQ doing the search, is there a specific reason that you were only looking for 45 caliber rounds?
My understanding was was the restriction of the search warrant.
Based on your understanding of the investigation, why are 45 caliber rounds significant and others not significant?
Because all of the live rounds that were located on set were 45 rounds.
And to be clear, let's talk for a moment about the live ammunition that you collected from PDQ. What color were the primers?
There were silver and brass primers collected from PDQ.
In terms of the live ammunition?
Yes.
And do you have photographs of the live ammunition that has silver primers?
Yes, I believe I do.
Okay. I may have to have you come back. We may talk about that. I don't want to hang us up today. Did all of the live rounds that you collected from PDQ, let me ask it this way. Did any of them look identical to the live rounds found on set?
No.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
With this witness.
Oh, yes, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
oh, that's okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so there's got to be a rule, no recross.
The state will call Christopher Zook.
Okay.
Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead. Have a seat. Talking to the microphone, please.
Go ahead and state your full name for the record.
Christopher Zook.
And Mr. Zook, how are you currently employed?
Dang it. Spell his
I
last name.
am currently retired.
And where did you retire from?
The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office.
And back on October 21st, 2021, how were you employed?
I was a sergeant for the Sheriff's Office in the Criminal Investigations Division.
And in that capacity, did you become involved in the investigation regarding the shooting on the movie set Rust?
I did.
I want to ask you specific questions. Did you participate in a search of the prop truck?
I did.
And were firearms located in the prop truck?
Yes.
Where were they located?
In a safe.
Were they removed from the safe?
Yes, by CST or the criminal specialist Popple.
The lady that just
Yes,
left.
the one that just left. Yeah, she was
Okay.
the one that unloaded or took him out of the safe.
When she took them out of the safe, what'd she do with them?
So it was a large box truck that the safe was in, and I was standing outside of the box truck at the back of it, and she would take them out and put them on the bed of the floor of the truck at the opening of the back door, and then we would clear them and then take them into evidence.
Okay, so you were responsible for clearing the firearms.
Yes.
That was not Ms. Popple's job.
No. Well, there was a couple of us that was making sure that they were unloaded and cleared and all that stuff because we don't want a loaded firearm in our evidence locker.
Sure. And did you come across a lever action rifle?
I did.
And tell us about that.
I do not remember the make or model of it. It was a lever action rifle. The way I was unloading the lever actions, they were an old style gun. I did not know where the magazine or the tube was on that. So what I was doing is just going through the motion of the lever action and having the rounds eject.
Show us what you mean when you say going through the motion of a lever action for those of us that don't know what that means.
Do you mind if I stand?
Sure.
Okay. So a lever action rifle, it's right there by the trigger. There's just a little, it's a lever, and you just rack it back and forth, and it will take it from the magazine and put it into the tube. And then when when the round is spent, you do it again and ejects it. And then while you're coming back, it will reload another round. That makes sense?
Yes.
So you have to do the action, a lever action.
And when you're doing the lever action, do the rounds inside just fly out?
They eject out. They're supposed to.
Okay. And that's what you were doing to unload it.
Yes.
Were you able to unload that gun?
No, not all the way. I believe I was able to unload at least a round or two, and then there was a round that was jammed.
And do you know what caliber of ammunition that lever action rifle took?
It was a 44-40
And do you know why it was jammed?
because the round that was in it was a 45, which is just like very slightly bigger.
Okay. It was enough to jam the
Yeah,
rifle.
that is correct.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
Oh, short,
Sir,
short
good
direct.
morning.
Good morning, sir.
So, sir, are you familiar with those types of Henry rifles?
I'm not.
And so you're not aware that you don't have to lever that to extract the rounds?
I do now, but at the time I did not know that.
Okay, so now you're aware that you don't have to work the lever to get those rounds out.
Correct. On the end of the tube or the magazine that I found out later on, we had our gun expert at the sheriff's office. His name is Deputy Steve Orr. I had him come into our ammunition room, which is covered in cinder blocks. So if it did go off, people are safe. And he showed me actually at the end of the tube, there was a part where you just twist and the rounds came out. So I know now, but at the
Okay.
time I did not.
Okay, so at the time you're working the lever, but later you learn you can just twist that and they'll fall out.
Correct.
Okay. Now you knew after the gun expert got it out, it was a dummy round.
I I'm gonna guess if I say yes or no on that one. So
Okay,
I'm
don't
not gonna-
guess.
yeah.
No, don't guess. So you weren't aware one way or another that whether it was a dummy or another type of round?
No, I handed it off to our evidence technician, and she was going through all the rounds to see if they were dummies or not.
Okay, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Ooh, very short. Redirect.
Were you present when Deputy Orr was removing the ammunition from that gun?
Yes.
Did the 45 caliber round come out easily?
No, it was actually jammed in the barrel of the gun. So once Deputy Orr showed me, hey, this is how you do it, we were able to take a couple rounds out, and the round was big enough it would not eject out of the ejection port. So he actually had to manipulate the round down into the tube, and then it eventually came out of the tube. So it did still fit into the tube, the magazine, but not into the barrel itself.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So
Okay.
it was jammed in the barrel.
Yes.
Okay. So even when you were there with Orr and you were doing it the easy way, unloading it with his knowledge, that round still didn't want to come out.
No, we had to manipulate it to get it out.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
May I ask one more question? So I don't have to recall them for this.
Sure. No objection.
Thank you. Sir, just one last question. You know,
Oh.
when you levered it,
Some
that
recross.
jammed the 45 round in the barrel?
Yes. Yes. So I know there was at least a round. I don't remember if there was more than that. I know there was at least a round. So when I chambered it, that round got ejected, and then that 45 round came from the tube and went to the barrel, and that's where I freaked out. I thought I damaged the gun.
Okay.
But once I started trying to get it out, it wasn't even grabbing to get it out or anything. So it did jam it. So I did jam it, but I guess, assumed that all the rounds that were in it were the correct rounds.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
All right, your excuse, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So
Next witness.
The state calls Brian Litzinger.
Ryan something. So the whole point in calling him for the prosecution was to get more testimony about how there was this wrong caliber round that was in this firearm. In other words, incompetence by the armorer. But the defense did an interesting thing by pointing out, some of the stuff that they did to get that round out. Maybe they ended up harming the firearm, the integrity of the firearm by doing that. I don't know if that's going to make it. I don't think it'll make any difference in literally anything. But hey, points are points, right? Defense is going to do whatever they can.
Stand up, sir.
I'm sorry. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, have a
Yes,
seat talking to the microphone.
Go ahead and state your name, sir.
My name is Ryan Litzinger.
Ryan, I'm sorry. I thought it was Brian. I apologize.
That's
I'm sure he gets that all the time.
Mr. Litzinger, how are you currently employed?
I am employed as a videographer and editor with a production company in Albuquerque.
And tell us about that production company in Albuquerque. What do you do?
So we are, we outfit productions with crew, camera, lighting, sound, DPs,
What's a DP?
director of photography. And we're also a rental house, so we also rent equipment.
Did you, I'm sorry.
Crewing as well. So like staffing different productions.
Okay, you help provide crew members.
Yes.
Okay.
To different productions. And, like I said, also a rental house.
Okay. At any point in time, were you asked to do any work on the set of Rust?
Yes.
What work were you asked to do?
So we were asked to, we were contracted to do duties of an EPK, which is stands for electronic press kit, which is something that a lot of productions have.
Give us more information. We don't know what an EPK is or why.
Okay, so basically there are days that are, reserved for behind the scenes, And there's also days that are reserved for cast interviews. And that together makes an EPK. And what the production company will do with that is up to them.
Okay. So specifically, what did you do on this film? And if you can tell us what dates you did it.
So October 13th, 2021 and October 15th, 2021, we shot behind the scenes footage and also captured production audio together. And we also conducted cast interviews.
Okay. And in terms of I'm not so interested in the interviews, but in terms of the
She doesn't
behind the
care.
scenes footage, describe to us, what are you filming and why? Are you just filming?
So a lot of the time we try to get just the action in between action and cut is when a lot of times.
So they may have captured
you'll see
what happened.
Directors planning what they want to do next, talking to the actors, wardrobe changes, audio, tweaks, anything like that. And that's really important for, people that are interested in watching the making of, or, whoever kind of gets this footage, you know what I mean? That's interesting to them. So, that's what happens on behind the scenes. We try to focus on, the DP, the director of photography, the director, and the actors. I mean, that's a lot of what we do.
So you're not actually filming clips for the movie. You are filming the actors and the crew working on the movie set.
Yes. Sometimes, that's, yes, a majority of what we do is we film the actors and the crew on set working and doing their jobs. But sometimes we're at a place called Video Village, which is basically a setup where, people watch the scene that's being filmed. And we will sometimes shoot that. So it's just video of the actual movie being filmed. Sometimes we'll be there.
Understood. But even when you're filming in Video Village, you're filming people working.
Yes, they're working as well, yes.
You're showing the director of photography looking at the monitor and seeing what is being filmed.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that some of this will make more sense a little later on. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, I was going to say if I'm not.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Just for people who aren't familiar with what you do, because I'm not going to show the videos today. We're going to show them later in the trial. Did I subpoena videos from you?
Yes.
And did you provide me all of the videos that you made on the set of Rust?
Yes.
And recently, did I send some of them back to you for you to review?
Yes.
How many videos did I send back to you for you to review?
I counted 17.
Do you recall approximately how many videos you sent me in response to my subpoena?
I do not.
Can you estimate? Can you give us an estimate?
It could be over 100.
Okay.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
I would have to, I don't recall. I didn't count, but
It's okay.
it could be over 100.
Okay. I'm happy with your answer, but if I can show you what you
Because
sent
thanks
me.
for the
Oh, do you have a
feedback.
number?
I don't have the number, but I have all your files.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just because I think, this could play well for the defense, that they weren't willing to pay for safety staff, but they were willing to pay for behind the scenes footage, for PR stuff. I don't know. Let's see how the defense does their cross-examination. It would be curious if they get into how much do they pay you?
I'd actually like to know what the real number is.
No problem. May I approach?
Mhm.
Just because how would they authenticate the exhibits later if they are not going to be presented when the witness is on the stand? Well, they're gonna admit them through him, so he's authenticating and during this process. It's helpful for the jury to see that process sometimes, but I don't know. He can still authenticate them now without them actually showing the jury these things. Also, Tish, has the jury been informed about Hannah's job and work tasks? Would this information be necessary for the jury to make their decision? Absolutely. They've got to know what her job tasks were, what her work responsibilities were. And they were given information about that during the opening statements.
Did seeing the electronic files that you provided me refresh your memory?
Yeah, I mean, just about, how much
Yeah.
content there was. 'Cause
How
it
many
was a long day.
videos? How many videos did you give me?
126.
Okay, thank you. And the 17 videos that I sent back to you for you to review, do you recognize those videos when you looked at them?
Yes.
And are those the videos that you filmed?
Yes.
And those specific 17 videos, what day did you film those videos?
That was October 13th, 2021.
Thank you.
Okay, so not the 21st when the incident happened, a full week before that happened.
So what I would like to do at this point in time is I would like to move for the admission of all videos from production outfitters that the court deems relevant and admissible as we move through the trial.
No objection.
All right, these will be of the 17.
Minor of the 17, I think the defense does have some that they
Oh, okay.
are intending
That's
to
fine.
admit also.
All right, okay.
So this is kind of a joint
Yes,
foundation.
yes, per stipulation, we'll do it this way, and I will so admit.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I pass the witness.
Okay, cross-examination.
Oh, sorry, Ryan, not so fast.
First time here, huh?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being with us today. I don't have any questions for you. You mentioned Video Village. How exactly does that work? What is that?
That's an external monitor that is separate from the cameras that are being used by the film crew. It's separate, so that they can watch that. The director and the director of photography can watch what's happening separately.
Okay. And are you generally familiar with film sets and things like Video Village and whatnot?
I see quite a few of them.
All right. When that kind of system goes down, how do people have to adapt on set?
When a system like Video Village will go down, I haven't seen it go down, but I would imagine that they would probably.
Hang on just
Ooh, speculation.
Because I think it's speculative at
Yeah.
this point, but I also think that there are going to be plenty of witnesses who can talk about what they did in fact when it went down.
That's fine.
All right, thank you.
Did you witness any scenes actually being shot when you were on set?
Yes.
Did those scenes involve Mr. Baldwin?
Yes.
All right. Did he seem to be in command of those scenes?
Objection, foundation.
Judge, he said he saw it.
Overruled.
Okay.
Yeah, she's with Rob's cousin on this one.
Well, the one that sticks out, he wouldn't have been in command because I think that it seemed that he was on a horse and he was playing dead. So it wasn't really much of a.
Okay. What I'm talking
Be in
about
command
more
if you're
so
playing
is,
dead.
Insofar as the pace of filming
Mhm.
and things like that, did he seem to have an influence on that?
Sorry.
That's pretty funny. Well, he didn't actually look like he was in command in this scene because he was on a horse and he was playing dead. I think what he meant was not the substance of the scene itself, but like how was he around that scene? Was he directing people on where to go? Was he? But that was funny. That was a funny response. Yeah, so I've decided to almost exclusively refer to Mr. Bullion, I think his name is, as Rob's cousin. I've told Rob this too. I'm like, he looks like he could be your cousin. So that's just what I've decided. His name technically is Mr. Bullion, but he's actually Rob's cousin. Not actually, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Mountain Princess 207. He does. He does. I may have referred to him as Rob's cousin in the presence of Rob and Ian. So I'm hoping it sticks.
Certainly very.
Because he looks just like him, right? I mean, not just like him, but he
Scenes
looks
that
like
you
he
saw
could be
Mr.
family.
Baldwin in, did he seem to be in control of how the scene was actually being shot?
There you
and
go.
how
That's the question you need.
quickly he was asking other people to work?
Like I said, that so they're a short amount of time. What?
It's a bit of a compound question, though. I have this impression that this witness doesn't want to make Alec Baldwin look like a bad guy. Yeah, that was a bit of a compound question. Break it down a little bit. At first, it was a good one.
Oh, did you make any edits to the videos that you sent Ms. Morrissey via subpoena?
No, there was no edits to the videos.
All right, thanks. Nothing further.
Okay, he lost on that.
Just quickly.
Redirect.
Mr. Litzinger, you expressed that you have some familiarity with the monitors in Video Village.
Yes. Yeah.
And you filmed inside Video Village on the set of Rust, didn't you?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. The monitor that the director of photography is looking at in Video Village.
Yeah.
Are they only looking at what the camera is recording?
They can see multiple cameras.
Right. But they can they see anything that is not being recorded by a camera?
Yes.
How?
Like I said, some of those monitors are attached to other cameras.
But if the cameras aren't rolling, how are they able to see through the monitor?
That's a specific question to what kind of monitors they are.
Okay, that's beyond your knowledge in terms of what they had on this movie set?
I mean, yeah, I don't know what
No
kind
problem.
they're using.
No problem. We'll talk to somebody
Yeah.
else about it. Thank you, sir. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
your time.
Your excuse. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
The next witness is, should we take a early lunch break or should we keep going?
I think the next witness isn't going to take very long, so if we can get
Okay, sure.
him done,
All
and
right.
then we'll go to lunch.
Fine.
Jason Hawks is who the state will call next.
Jason Hawks.
Shadow and the Elmo.
I wish she would ask for the spelling of their last names. She's not
Oh,
doing a great job of that. That's just my personal complaint. It's not anything that impacts the jury in any way. It's just my own personal gripe.
Thank you.
So that I can get their last name right.
Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, have a seat, talk into the mic. Thank you.
Sir, please state your name for the record.
Jason Hawks.
How are you currently employed?
I own a company that analyzes device extractions and cell phone records for attorneys.
Uh-oh.
Lucky you. Mr. Hawks, can you give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some information about your background and training?
Certainly. So I started in law enforcement in 2005 with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. I remained there until 2017, with the last about 7 years being assigned to investigations. After leaving the Sheriff's Office, I went to the District Attorney's Office, where I was an investigator for the DA. I was there for 3 years, and then I started this company. Specific to device extractions, I've attended classes from Cellbrite, which is a company that
So he's an
extracts
expert.
information from a handset. I'm a certified operator, certified physical analyst, and I've recently taken the advanced smartphone analysis.
How did you become involved in this case?
I was contacted by the prosecutor's office, I believe it was about a year ago, in March, late March, I believe, 23.
And were you asked to perform any work?
I was.
And let me back up for a second. Have you been, I apologize. Have you been qualified as an expert witness in cell phone records and device analysis?
I have.
And how many times have you been qualified as an expert in those areas?
Between records from the carrier and records from the handset, I've been qualified 53 times in 5 states.
Do you recall what those states are?
Let's see, Texas, Louisiana, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, 6 states, in California.
Okay. And now you're here in New Mexico.
Now I'm in New Mexico.
I would ask the court to recognize Mr. Hawks as an expert in cell phone records and device analysis.
No objection.
All right, so you're still recognized.
Now you get to add New Mexico to your list. Mr. Hawks, can you explain to the jury kind of what kind of technology you're using and kind of how the cell phone records interface with the software, the extraction software?
Sure. So our smartphones are essentially a bunch of databases that are stored. So programs like Cellbrite go in and they extract the information from the handset. And they do it in a way that doesn't change the nature of the artifact. So if I receive a text message but don't read it, it doesn't change that unread status. So at first, all of the information is removed from the handset, and then it's parsed through Physical Analyzer, is the name of the program. In Physical Analyzer, the information is essentially put back together, and it's converted to whatever time zone it needs to be converted to.
In this particular case, what kind of work did you perform?
I reviewed the Cellbrite extraction of Ms. Gutierrez-Reed's her iPhone.
When an extraction is done, does everything on the phone get kind of downloaded?
Unfortunately, not everything. So not all of the information is always recovered, but things like text messages, phone calls, images, things like that, are downloaded from the handset.
And when you you received the raw data from the extraction that was done of Ms. Gutierrez's phone, is that right?
Yes.
So just to be clear, you yourself did not perform the extraction.
That's correct.
Do you know who performed the extraction? Not the person's name, but the agency.
The regional computer forensics lab here in New Mexico.
So how did that data come to you?
It came to me on an external hard drive.
And when you received that data, what did you do in order to conduct an analysis?
So I opened the data in the Physical Analyzer program, which essentially takes the extracted data and runs it through the most current version of the program. And with that, it breaks out the data into various different categories.
Okay. And what kind of categories?
Everything from cell sites that the phone might have seen, images, videos, audio files, notes, text messages, iMessages, voice logs. There's most of the data that we see on our phones is accessible to the program.
And were you able to separate out information related to this particular device that identifies this device?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I am marking as State's Exhibit 92. May I approach you?
Yeah, Christina Kirshner, he's testified before.
I do.
What is that?
This is the device information that was captured by the Cellbrite program for the phone.
How do we know that this is Hannah Gutierrez's phone?
Well, I mean, I received the extraction of the phone. There's some information on here, such as like the phone number, an email address, things like that, that would suggest that it is.
Okay. The phone number's on there?
Yes.
Permission to publish?
Yeah.
The tech is running a lot
Just-
smoother today than yesterday, by the way. Seems that they've gotten all of that figured out, which is good. I'm glad.
Does this tell you what kind of?
You want to use the microphone? Just go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does this tell you what kind of phone it was?
It does.
What kind of phone was it?
So on number 6, you can see where it says detected model. It says iPhone, and then in parentheses, it says D as in David, 54.
Come on,
P
show
as
us
in
the
Paul,
exhibit,
A as in
not the
Adam,
defendant.
P as in Paul. That's the iPhone code for an iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Okay. And I'm sorry, does this monitor usually come on? Because I can't see. That would be great if I can see it on the monitor in front of me, so I don't have to walk back and forth. My eyesight isn't good enough to see what's up there. Thank you, sir. Does it provide the date and time of the extraction?
Carolyn, yeah, I guess I did.
The date
did.
and
I
time
jinxed
of the
it, didn't I?
extraction is actually on a different part of the extraction.
What's in the number 2 column,
That is the
or
date.
row rather?
I'm sorry. That is that's the date and time that the phone was displaying at the time of when it was extracted in UTC.
Okay. So what is your understanding about the date? I don't particularly care about the time, the date of the extraction.
That it was, the extraction occurred on December 8th of 2021.
And is there an Apple ID associated with this phone?
There is.
What's that?
So that is number 22 under Apple ID, where it says hannahmemail@gmail.com.
And what is the phone number associated with this phone?
The phone number is on line number 24, which is 928-444 3555.
What's the owner name of this phone?
The name that would appear on, say, a Bluetooth device is found on line 32, which is Gorilla Grip Pussy Pal.
Okay. And
Okay.
did you, at my request, did you separate out some contact information for one of the people in the contacts of this phone?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as State's Exhibit 93. May I approach?
Yeah, Carolyn Vigup's funny because it's like he wanted to stay professional, but he had to say the words that are absolutely don't sound professional at all.
Sir,
That was a
do you
fun mix.
recognize State's Exhibit 93?
I do.
What is that?
This is the contact information for a contact stored as Dadcula.
Dadcula. Like Dracula. Be careful how you label people in your phone, guys.
I'm sorry. Permission to publish? I'm already publishing.
Any objection
No objection.
to the admission and publication?
Yeah, and folks mentioning,
Generally speaking,
hope
what
she changed her
information does
personal
this sheet
information.
have,
Yes, she had to
with
have.
regard to the contact?
She knew this was coming.
Dadcula, and if you could spell that for us.
Sure. It's DADCULA exclamation point. So what it has is information about that person's contact info, their WhatsApp phone number, their telephone number, when it was added as a contact.
The exclamation mark gets me. It's not just
What's the phone
Dadcula,
number
it's
for
Dadcula.
Dadcula?
The phone number is 323-365-2189.
All right, thank you.
I'm sure he's also changed that number. I'm assuming it's her stepdad, Phil Reed.
At my request, did you sort of pull out text messages from the date of October 20th, 2021?
I did.
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as State's Exhibit
Oh, boy.
94.
Day before. Is this some text
There
admitting to
are-
drug and alcohol use?
3 pages to this exhibit.
Okay.
Permission.
Did he identify it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Skipped a step. May I approach? Mr. Hawks, do you recognize that?
I do.
What are we looking at there?
We are looking at a text thread between the 928 number I already referenced and a 505 number.
All right, so you'll motion it in?
Permission to publish and first move. I'll move for the admission of 92, 93, and 94. And then I think we're also going to do a general moving like we discussed.
Okay,
No
so,
objection.
all right, so you may publish.
When we're seeing this text message here that's on the screen, is this a text message from that phone or to that phone?
It is a text message from the 928 number to the 505 number.
Okay, and can you read it for us?
The content?
Yes.
Yes, it's LOL. I don't need that tonight anyways. Right on. I might go smoke in the jacuzzi soon, but maybe not. I'm so pooped.
Okay, and I'm going to show you the second page of Exhibit 94. And is that a text to or from Ms. Gutierrez's phone?
It is from her phone.
And it is to the 505 number?
Correct.
And if you can, and what's the date?
The date is October 20th, 2021 at 7:48 and 46 seconds p.m. local time.
Okay. And can you read that for us?
It says, headed down to get high Outback, :B.
Okay. So that's,
show
I
you
mean,
the
almost
third
8 p.m.
page
Sounds like that's after work.
Exhibit 94. And what's in the blue?
So the blue is an incoming message from that 505 number to her phone.
And just for context, what does that message say?
That message says, time to eat now, how the blaze says go.
And then is there and what time was that message sent?
So that message was received by the phone at 8:24 and 46 seconds p.m. in red at 8:25 and 47 seconds.
Okay. And so this is the time that it was received,
Correct.
and this is the time it was read.
Correct.
And then is there a response to that text that we're looking at here in green?
There is.
And what time is that sent?
That is sent at 8:25 and 53 seconds.
And this is from Ms. Gutierrez's phone to the 505 number?
Yes.
And what does that text message say?
It says, I'm still smoking.
Okay, thank you. Did you sort of separate out for me a short thread between Ms. Gutierrez's phone and the Dad Kula contact?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as State's Exhibit 95.
I mean, but again, these are text messages seemingly at the end of the day
State's Exhibit 95.
at the
is
hotel room,
two-page
not on
exhibit.
set. So how does this prove that she was doing drugs while on set? To me, I don't think it gets there. We're going to need to see more.
May I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Hawks, do you recognize that?
I do.
What is that?
These are messages that were exchanged between the 928 number and the Dad Kula contact on November 8th of 2021.
Approximately what time?
It starts at 4:08 and 36 seconds, and it ends at 5:36. I'm sorry, 5:24 and 38 seconds.
I move for the admission of State's Exhibit 95 and ask permission to publish.
No objection.
All right, States 95 is admitted, you may publish it.
And that message, is that from the 928 number?
Correct. So any of the messages that are in green are from the 928 number, and any messages in blue are from an outside number.
Okay. And can everybody read that? That way I don't have to have Mr. Hawks read it. And then I'm going to show you the second page, if everybody's had a moment to read that. I'll show you the second page. And in the second page, what are we looking at here?
So the top blue box is the response from the previous message that says "will do," and then beneath that is an image that was sent to her phone from the outside number.
Yeah, so it seems like what they're going
What
for
are we
is
looking
not
at there?
We're looking at a thumbnail
issue of
the image
legality
that
of
was
the
sent
use,
to her phone. So the
just
image
negligence
name
of doing
is
it while working
img
with firearms.
0686.heic, and we're looking at the inset thumbnail.
And were you able to collect that actual photo for me so we don't have to look at a thumbnail?
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll get there in a minute. At my request, did you separate a text thread between Ms. Gutierrez, the Dad Kula contact, and a contact by the name of Jason Bowles?
Yes.
Oh, did they destroy some privilege here? It sounds like they had some three-way conversations between Dad Kula and Hannah and the attorney, Jason Bowles. So there's a privilege issue here potentially. But Dad being present could have destroyed that privilege. Annalie Finch, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Welcome to Bike Club.
And Mr. Hawks, do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is that?
This is part of the text message thread that you were just referencing.
And what's the date of that text exchange?
What is in front of me here starts on December 1st, 2021, and ends also December 1st, 2021.
Okay, give me just 1 second.
Ah, crap. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean for that to pause it. Hang on 1 second. Okay. It was time to switch earbuds.
I move for the admission of States Exhibit 96 and permission to publish.
No objections.
States 96 is admitted, you may publish.
Can you just briefly explain what we're looking at here?
Sure. So the top blue box is a message from the Dad Kula contact to Ms. Gutierrez's phone. And the second blue box is an incoming message from Mr. Bowles' number to Ms. Gutierrez's phone.
So was this a?
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Mhm. Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's right. Escoutna Bradley. The other issue is they turned all her texts from her lawyers over to the guy who owned the prop company. That's right. I forgot about that. Seth Kinney, who owns PDQ Prop. They ended up turning over all of these text messages over to him because I think he made a FOIA request. So somehow those weren't kept privileged. There's so that this is why there's probably going to be a number of sidebars with this guy because especially now that we're getting into text messages between her and her attorney, we're getting into potential attorney-client privilege communications, maybe some work product immunity issues. So there's some potential here for some back and forth. And they've got to sort of tread carefully here. But that was a huge issue that the defense raised during the most recent hearing.
Mr. Hawks, let me back up for just a moment. How do we know that 3 people were involved in this text conversation?
So the Cellbrite program will pull out text threads. So if you and I have a text thread and you and I and another person have a text thread, those are 2 separate threads in my phone. So what we're looking at here is a thread that was between these 3 people.
Okay. This is not a thread that was only between Ms. Gutierrez and Mr. Bowles.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to read that? I'm going to show you the second page of State's Exhibit 96.
So I think that the point in saying that they were all in the thread is to say that Papa Dadcula being in that thread
Mr. Hawks,
destroys
can you tell me what
privilege,
we're looking at here?
which could
Yeah, we're looking
could
at a
potentially be the
continuation
case.
of that same text thread. So the top blue box is an incoming message from the contact from Mr. Bowles. The green box beneath that is an outgoing message to both because it's a group thread. And then the bottom blue box is an incoming message from the Dadcula contact.
Okay. Everybody have an opportunity to read those. I know they're pretty short, and at this point, they may not make much sense, but we're getting there. I'm going to show you the.
One of the jurors didn't see it.
Oh.
Tish, that's correct. They said that she was never drug tested, at least not on October 21st.
I'm going to show you page 3.
All right, what other text are we going to see from this guy? And will we get to cross-examination before lunch? What, 10 minutes to noon in New Mexico?
Okay, jury, we're gonna break for lunch.
Okay, there's your
Please
answer.
don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court, okay? And thank you. We'll be back at, what do you all want? 12:40 or what? 1 o'clock? What do you want?
Is one possible, Judge?
You sure it is? Okay, 1 o'clock, okay?
Yeah. All right. Hour and 10 minutes. Okay. Cat Love Dreaming Peach. Oh, sorry. Wait, here's a question. Is Hannah out free during this trial? Yes, I believe so. I believe she's out on bail. A Waffle with Jam. Has anyone seen the court episode of The It Crowd? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay, and counsel, because he's still under oath and still testifying, please don't talk with any other witnesses about this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. All right, so counsel will be back at 10 of, and just in case there's anything to address. Okay, thank you. We're in recess.
Okay, guys. So that is that. We've got an hour and 10 minutes about until we come back for, I suppose, continued direct examination, maybe cross-examination. But we've already got some text messages admitting to some drug use. Those are off hours, though. I expect that to be pointed out on cross-examination. And I, further clarified by the defense. So, okay. But otherwise, we do have some drug use evidence in front of the jury now. We'll see how all of that goes. All right, folks. I am going to. All right, so now that we've got that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream, and then this is going to redirect directly to the next stream. I'm also going to put out some social media posts for the next one, so you guys can find the link on the community tab. I'll also put it on Facebook and Instagram. Twitter doesn't like links; it gets mad at me. So you'll have to find it through the channel again if you go through Twitter. But anyway, we'll do an afternoon stream. We'll pick up at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and then we'll go from there. But so far, all right, we've got some more interesting information that's come out of this trial. Defense is definitely trying to do what they can to put some points on the board. How much is it moving the needle so far? I don't know. Prosecution's making some good points though. When we come back in the afternoon, then let's do another poll to see how people are feeling about this case. Are they leaning defense, leaning prosecution, or still is it too early to tell? And also, yeah, thank you, Tish. Before you guys leave, if you can, please do like the video. It helps to push everything to the algorithm gods. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in the afternoon. Okay. All right, folks. See you in a bit. Enjoy your lunch, whether it's lunchtime or not, wherever you are. All right, folks. See ya.